Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to or watching the Powercast. And today we will be recapping Power Book 4 Force Season 1, Episode 9. And the title of this episode is Trust. I'm here with Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing, Richard?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
Indeed, indeed. What's up? And his name today is Power Force Season 2 writer. So I'm curious to see why you chose that name, but I'll ask you that later on. But
Uh-oh.
but yes, and we're also here with Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you, Dana?
I'm excited to be here.
Okay, and your name is C at the table. Why have you chosen that name?
Very simple. Da finally allowed me to have a seat at the table. So I'm part of the family, and we're going to take down Tommy and all of those Serbs who went and shot me brother.
That Irish accent is incredible.
Yeah,
Like
that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
PBS, watching PBS as a child. Thank you.
I'm British and I can't do an Irish accent like that. So I mean, applause for that. But
Thank you.
yeah, and my name here is my little fun name here is Liliana's ER contact, and that is because of course, Liliana she knew the moment Vic came into the ER because he got shot. She was the one who told Tommy that he was shot and everything because she's got some kind of contact at the ER. So yeah, that contact was me. So there you go. Um, but yeah, this was a very interesting episode. Of course, we are back after the break. There was like a 1 week break, and now we are back. There was also a leak, which was interesting. On the day on the day the episode was supposed to come out, it leaked. So that was interesting. But yeah, we didn't actually take part in that. I don't think it spread too far either. So it was cool. But yeah, so we are here finally, and this is the last episode for the finale. So yeah, very interesting times, I guess. And this was supposed to be the episode that really sets up the finale and everything. And we have our opinions. We each have our differing opinions here. So this is going to be a very fun show because I think we all kind of see things in a different way. And I'm very interested to hear what the people think today as well. So do chime in, leave your comments, and please do hit the like button too if you like this content and if you like these discussions that we're having. And yeah, and also, check out the channel because we do cover other shows, other movies, and everything. So if you like what you see, hit the subscribe and hit the bell button also. But please do, if you are here right now, please do hit that like button because it doesn't cost a thing and it really does help us out. And we want to keep doing this for you. And power, we've been doing this Powercast like we've been doing this nonstop since like November because first it was book 2 that we were covering, then it ticked over to Force. So we've been doing this nonstop. We've been here. So please, hit that like button because it just helps to keep us going. It helps us come back every single week. So and we love to hear from you guys. We love to read your comments. But yeah, so the way the show works is we are going to get to our takeaways. We're each going to, we're going to go around the panel here. We're each going to talk about some things that stood out to us and, highlight some of our thoughts after watching this episode. And then after that, we'll have a questions and discussion segment where we have more of a back and forth about, the different subjects, the different themes in the episode. So yeah, that would be the second half of the show. But for now, we are going to get to takeaways, and it's my turn this week to go first. So yeah, I will begin. So I actually don't have a lot of takeaways from this episode, but some things that stood out to me is like I'm really excited to like one character I'm excited to see next week in the finale is Diamond. And I say that because I feel like these last few episodes, he's been very passive. He hasn't played an active role in the show. Like he hasn't been making decisions. He hasn't been making, any calls or anything like that as the leader of CBI. I feel like he hasn't been making any moves. He's just been kind of in this, relationship with the reporter, I guess. And in this episode, he obviously overheard Jannard talking about CBI and his plans to kind of take over. He was very dismissive of his brother. And yeah, like Jannard wants to, he wants to take the lead. He wants to take over. And clearly, like Diamond also heard that he has this disdain for Tommy Egan as well. And he wants to, he wants Tommy out the way. So Diamond heard this. He heard this conversation, and now he has this information. He knows exactly where Jannard stands. So I want to see what he's going to do with that information. And that is actually going to be one of the discussions we have later as well. But yeah, like I want to know, because he's been passive for a bit too long for my liking, considering he's supposed to be the leader of this gang. So I want to see what move he is going to make. What decision is he going to make? Because he absolutely has to. Like he was kind of built up to be this kind of I don't want to say number 2 character, but like he was built up to be a big part of this show in the first half of this season. And I feel like he's kind of taken a back seat, and like some of the other characters have been more entertaining to watch, like Liliana and Claudia. So yeah, I want Diamond to kind of, make an executive decision next week and kind of solidify his spot in the show and show us why we need to care about him a little bit, because the character has a lot of potential. But I want to see what kind of bold decision he is going to make now that he knows his own brother, his own blood is essentially against him. So that's what stood out to me in this episode. Of course, he had another scene with Adrienne as well. So they seem to be in their relationship. We haven't heard of any progression with this article or report that she's writing. But yeah, it seems like they're fully in a committed relationship right now. And then we also saw that Tommy came to him for help when, he discovered that the Four Horsemen were coming for him, like the Irish mob. And Diamond actually, he wanted no parts of that. And that's not the first time Diamond has said no to Tommy either. Like he's pretty consistently told Tommy, I don't want anything to do with this. I think it happened as well with the Serbs, or after they had that shootout, I guess. After that, he was kind of done with Tommy. He didn't want to help him out anymore. But I feel like him and Tommy are gonna have to team up again for survival purposes next week. So I think that is going to be part of the decision that Diamond has to make. Like, are you going to take Tommy's side against Jannard and what he's planning? And I think that is going to be the thing that he has to, kind of decide and live with as well. Now, whether that results in violence or death, I don't know, but that is what I'm very interested in seeing. I want to see how much they're going to push the button on this storyline. But yeah, so that was one thing, leading into the finale that has me very curious. And the other thing I wanted to address as well. So I get what they're telling us in this episode, right? So basically, Vic, he's been shot. Gloria has ended up, losing her life because the Serbs came after them. And, Walt has convinced Vic that Tommy Egan had something to do with this, and he is leading the Serbs and everything like that. And Vic also believes that Tommy had something to do with this just because he was the one who tried to offer him a car, in the last episode or whatever. So they've convinced Vic that Tommy is behind this, right? And they've flown in the Four Horsemen, the Irish mob and everything, to deal with the situation, to take on the Serbs and Tommy. Okay, I get that. But, once Tommy finds out that, because he has that conversation with Claudia, and it becomes clear to him that number one, Gloria is dead, and number two, that Walt and Vic believe that he is the one behind it, and they're coming after him basically. So that becomes clear to him. Now I know he goes to Diamond for help, and Diamond, doesn't want to help him out. Um, Now, my what I can't get over is the fact that he goes directly to the person that they are accusing him of being aligned with, and asks him for help, despite the fact they already have a beef, an ongoing beef. Like just a few episodes ago, these guys were out for blood trying to kill Tommy. So I'm surprised he even got through the door, to talk to Merkovich. Like I'm surprised he even made it that far, to be honest. And then, on top of that, Tommy offers him $1 million for protection or whatever, to find out, who did the hit and everything. And then Merkovich, he tells him, I guess, like, it was the guy by the door, standing by the door. And Tommy kills him right there before Merkovich's eyes. Now, at this point, Merkovich hasn't seen any money. He doesn't know if Tommy really has the $1 million or whatever. Like, he doesn't know if he's like, trying to play him or something. But he allows Tommy to kill his man in front of the rest of the team, which isn't good for morale, number one. Like, what are his other people thinking at this point? Like, you're just going to let this guy come in here that we've been hunting and kill this guy? Like, yeah, okay. That's one thing I couldn't get over. But then, we see obviously Claudia. She drives by and she finds Tommy, and she sees him with Merkovich. And then she goes back to her father, and she's like, okay, yeah, I believe you now. Tommy was definitely behind this. And I'm just like, what did Tommy really expect to happen here? Like, obviously, if you were going to align yourself with, like, if you were going to the Serbs for help against the Irish mob, they're going to then double down and believe that you really were the one that killed, Gloria, and you're just making the situation worse. Like, for me, I feel like Tommy would have gone directly to the Irish mob instead of the Serbs. Like, he would have went to Walt's place, like, to try and convince them, look, it wasn't me. I don't know why you think it was me, but I didn't do this. Like, let me talk to Vic and let me tell him I didn't do this. I was trying to help you. I think that would have been more realistic for him to do, but he goes directly to the enemy of both of them. Like, the Serbs are out for blood. They want to kill everybody, and he goes directly to them for protection. And, my number 2 point here as well is, if you were really going to go ahead with this plan to make and distribute Dahlia, you should have already had protection, because people are going to come for you if you are the plug. Like, if you are the one that is behind this hot drug in the streets, people are going to come for you regardless. So you should have had like a team of hitters, a team of protection, security following you everywhere. So you should already have protection. You shouldn't need to go to your enemy and ask them for help. Like, I just couldn't get past that, in particular in this episode. Like, it just seemed a bit far-fetched to me. It just seems like convenience writing to have that kind of thing happen. And yeah, it just seems like a lot of convenience writing has been going on recently in the show. And I hope it leads somewhere, really good next week. I hope it's all for a reason. But yeah, it's just like, that's just one thing that just kind of confused me. And then I guess the final point I'll make is, it's cool that, finally the whole DMAC and JP thing came out. Like, the fact that, DMAC is JP's son, and, Tommy is DMAC's uncle. Like, that has finally come out. The way it happened, I guess it's full of drama, right? Because DMAC gets shot, sorry, and then of course, he has to tell JP at that point. And this, that was right after Tommy told D-Mac that, I am your uncle and JP's your father. Like, so it was very dramatic how it happened, but I do wish it could have happened in a different way too, because I feel like JP should have been a part of the conversation, like initially too. Because we don't actually get to see the moment of those two. I guess maybe they're saving it for next week. Maybe they wanted to save it, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, D-Mac gets shot. I guess that's the dramatic build up, the tension that they're trying to create here. I did laugh when, because throughout this episode, we saw a lot of Tommy and JP yelling. Like, so there were a few scenes that just made me laugh. Like, number one, when when JP told him that he called Kate, and then, Tommy just threw a full on tantrum. Like, what? Why did you do that? I told you not to. And, just in the last episode, we saw him consider calling his mom. Like, he was considering calling her too. So, and then he just spazzes on JP. So that was hilarious to me. And just to see him lose his cool like that. And then, of course, he kind of yelled at D-Mac as well for what he did, because he went behind his back to do the deal with Buddy or whatever. And he kind of flipped on him. And then D-Mac flips on him. And then, at the end, when Tommy tells JP that, the kid from who damaged the club got shot at, and then he tells him, it's your son, I've been meaning to tell you. And then JP flips on him. So it was a lot of that, them flipping on each other. So that was funny to see. I guess that runs in the family maybe. So that was cool to see. But yeah, I'm just waiting for that moment of JP finally talking to D-Mac. And we can talk more about it later, but I do think D-Mac is going to survive. I don't think he's dead or anything, but we can talk more about that later, because maybe other people have their theories there, but we'll see. But yeah, overall, to me, it was an average episode. Like, it was cool. I was hoping for something a bit more exhilarating to lead us into the finale, but it's cool. I mean, this is what I'm expecting at this point, so it's cool. It did its job. It did what it was supposed to do, I guess. But yeah, cool. So those are my takeaways for this week. And Dana is already giving me the faces, shaking her head and everything. So I'm very anxious to hear her takeaways and what she has to say. So we are going to head over to Miss Dana Abercrombie. So let us know your takeaways.
I personally like this episode. My issue was that it took us too long to get to this episode. When we had to have other episodes that dragged and storylines that really didn't tell the overall story or contributed at all, such as, once again, Diamond with Adrian. I don't care about Adrian. I don't care about that black cop whose name that I can't remember, even though I wrote it down. That's just how forgettable he is, Seamus. I don't care about how much he needs money in order to pay off this random white guy dude, and how he's running off to go rob Diamond. I don't care. And I think that the show has focused so much on storylines that I personally just don't care about, that it lost somehow the traction that it had within kind of the first part of Force, that now we had to wait 10 weeks in order to get to this one episode where things finally happen. But then we have one episode left, and then it's like, that's it. We know it's renewed for a second season. So in terms of like Tommy getting whacked, we know that's not going to happen because it's only the second season. And I'm not saying that people of their own show can't get whacked. Hello, Ghost. Ghost is dead from Ghost, which is what I appreciated. We know coming into season 2, Tommy of the Tommy Show, even though it's not named Tommy, black people name it Tommy Show, is not going to die. So I like this episode. Once again, I have to go with the whole fact that JP called Miriam. I don't need this storyline. This could have been saved. I'm sorry. I don't care about your crackheaded mama. Another thing that I do like the relationship between Liliana and Tommy, and I do feel that they're purposely warming us up to Liliana and Tommy, and not keeping it a romantic relationship, but a strictly business one. I still feel that Liliana is going to die. You can tell that Tommy genuinely cares for her. They started off trying to kill each other, and now it's like, hey, that's my buddy. And I like the chemistry between the two. And so far, the cook is still alive. So congratulations to her. Long live Black people. One of the other things that I did think that was interesting was Victor's an idiot. Point blank, period. He's always been an idiot. He always will be an idiot. In this episode, he was still an idiot. And it showed how easy he was able to manipulate, which, goes to show that he thinks he knows everything, but he really doesn't at all. And maybe still at this time, he is still unable to get under his father's, I don't know, table wing thing. Because of that, he's able to be manipulated. And with whole Gloria's death, it's easy to say, oh, it was that Tommy boy, even though you had no proof, even though he did everything that was the complete opposite to show that he was trying to set you up. Any kind of whisper from, it seemed like your dad, that he's still able to kind of fall into, because like, oh, now granted, later on we have Tommy does eat meat with Merkovich, and that kind of confuses a lot of things. But I just really feel that Victor is an idiot. I'm cool with Victor dying, and then Claudia just takes up everything because he's an idiot. And what more does he have to, like, in all honesty, in terms of storyline, we know the whole thing was originally like, I'm going to go and break free from my dad, and I'm with Gloria, we're going to have a nice family somewhere. She's dead now, and he doesn't have any other prospects. They did the whole, I'm falling in line, Dad. I'm a soldier. So what else are you going to do? I'm cool with him dying because Claudia at least has something going on. The whole Four Horsemen, I really like that. I like the ending where they all just like kind of met. I'm waiting to see what happens. But again, you waited until the 9th episode. There are 10 episodes. Whatever it is going to happen, you're either going to just all die off or go back to Ireland. So what? You haven't given me any chance to be like, you know how you built up something? They really haven't built up the Irishmen. Oh my gosh. You don't want to mess with them. They're from Dublin. They only come down here during emergencies. It was just a random, I'm calling the Four Horsemen and not going to come down here, and we got the Serbs and we're taking them all out. Okay, cool. And Tommy has the Serbs and they're going to take them out. Like, overall, I don't feel anything for this war because it just seems like it's so petty. And obviously, a lot of wars that start off by pettiness, but it's not something that's really getting me invested in. The overall goal just seems to be we want to kill Tommy. Tommy's the problem of everything. But now it's like, we're going to war because you shot me, boy. But, I kind of set that up and confused the guy with Tommy. And it doesn't feel like it was something that was I don't want to say well thought out, but well executed throughout the season, so that when we get to the finale, it's like, oh, it's going down. Remember how, example, hate to compare it, but The Wire did a really great job of setting up Marlowe and Idris Elba's character, dude, who I can't remember. But they did a really great job of setting up, and we kind of, like, in our brain, we're going to have that war. It was Omar. Sorry. It was Omar and Idris Elba, I think. I'm like, this is a while ago. Point is, they did a really great job of setting up that war throughout the episodes that we expected that we was going to see was this big all-out thing. And instead, we got what we got, and it was like, oh, okay, cool. But we expected something. With this, I don't expect anything. Like, it's the random Serbs and the Irish, but you previously introduced me to, what was it? I forgot all these factions, but you introduced me to the Hispanic people. And then remember, you kept talking about the Yardies. Where are the Yardies? Are they going to come in and be like, we got your back? I don't know, but it just seems like what you put in front of me, you're not giving me, but you're giving me something that I never asked for. So I don't feel anything for the whole Four Horsemen situation to come. I am interested in this. I did not predict this happening this season. The situation between Diamond and his brother Gennard. I did not anticipate him overhearing. We all knew that he was setting him up, and I'm going to take the crown and the glory, and yeah, I made him do. And you can kind of argue it was cheap in a way to have him just overhear the entire plan. And you can say that it was similar to, remember, there's a lot of monologuing. I know the Incredibles said a lot, you don't monologue your whole entire plan. It kind of felt like that, even though it was an overhearing. But I did not figure out that he would find out the whole plan within the first season. Maybe later on when he's like, "Oh, my brother set me up. Why have I been shot?" Maybe later on, but not right now. And so I'm really interested in what Diamond is going to do. Will he have to come to a realization that he has to kill his brother? Maybe he'll be like, "No, I'm gonna leave in order to cause any more kind of hurt or harm or whatever towards my brother." So I'm really interested in how they play that off. But they did a really good thing where Diamond was like, "I'm not going to jail for you." Remember when Tommy and him was like, Tommy came to him and was like, "I need help. I need weapons and I need people." And he was like, "No, we almost died the last time. This is not my war. I'm not going to help you." And he said, "I'm not going to jail for you." So then my question is, who is he willing to go to jail for? Will that be to stop his brother? And if that happens, either set him up, either kill him. I don't know what, but that's what I'm really interested in. I like that dynamic, even though I just don't like the way it was executed. Another thing is I'm really happy Gloria's dead because now we can move on. Just wanted to throw that in there. JP and Tommy is very interesting because JP really obviously wants, some kind of connection. He did a whole monologue spiel about wanting a connection with Kate. This episode really monologued a lot, Jesus. But he did this whole thing about wanting Kate in his life, and he was really hurt that she not only hung up, she blocked him. It's like, oh, okay. So you blocked him, and he doesn't have a chance to have that connection. And so he really feels hurt. And you kind of felt like the abandonment that he was going through because he kind of overacted the scene, but you felt that abandonment. And I genuinely felt sad for him. And then you have what was going on with D Mac. God, please change that name one day. But you have what's going on with the D Mac, and you see how he kept the picture with his father, so you can see how he longs for there to be a relationship too. Obviously, he's very young and he's not able to fully process all of the emotions that he was going through. And when Tommy revealed who he really was and why he was trying to be connected, he kind of turned into that black emo kid. Like, "I don't hear it. I'm angry. No." And he ran out in the street. "No." And then, it was like, "It's okay. It's going to get better. All right." So they went over to go talk to PJ, and that's when he got shot. Um, I really, again, it took too long to get to this point, but I really do like that if he does live, there can be a connection through someone. JP is not connected with his mother anymore, and he talked about his son. "I'm going to go find my son." And whoever his son was, he didn't know at the time. And now he has that opportunity to have that connection. I do hope that D-Mac does live in order for that to happen. My whole thing is, I wonder how Kate is going to be in the mix. Yes, you can say she blocked the number, she's not going to be there, but Kate was always kind of a little slimeball-ish to me. So I wonder if they're going to incorporate Kate in the next season. And because the way how Tommy was so explosive and so angry that Kate was involved and that he even just called Kate, that it showed so much trauma that Tommy went through. I hope there's a payoff for that trauma and that we do see Kate involved in some way. Whether or not she just ends up being killed, I'm cool with that. But I do hope that they bring her in for something. Another thing, JP with the whole thing, "I gotta go see my son." I wonder if they're gonna be able to have some kind of relationship, or if he does die, I wonder what will the purpose be for. Because to me, I'm just the kind of person who likes characters who are a purpose, which is why I don't like Seamus and Adrian. I think their storylines are just not doing what they think they're supposed to be doing for this season. But I do hope that they're able to establish some form of a relationship because JP is very broken and DMAC is very broken. And we also do know that as we saw, there's a hit put out for DMAC because of the whole situation with Black Dahlia, and he being Jannard, that Tommy is somehow stealing, or everybody just hates Tommy at this point, but he wants him dead. But the whole part about him not killing Tommy with the bounty and thinking that he's trying to undercut him, I wonder how that is going to go. And again, I just need some kind of closure with those characters and their storylines. So overall, I thought that this was a pretty decent episode. The problem is it just took too long to get there, and I know a lot of people has already dropped out. Here's the thing. A lot of people, don't know how I could say this, but this show thought that it was doing something, that it went to certain groups of medias because it thought that it was on that certain level. And because the stories was not strong enough, the people that they thought was going to be like entertained by it weren't. And so now they're going back and circling to other media that is more of the base of what Tommy should have been. That's all I can say. And that is kind of representative of the writing kind of so much. We really expected this really great show, and I don't know whether or not they thought they could live up to that expectation, but what they delivered was way too late in the game. And I wonder if they're able to get viewership back because of that, if that makes any sense. So that's all I have to say.
Great takeaways, first of all. And that is a great question that you raised. And yeah, we should probably have a discussion about that at some point, maybe later on or next week even, since it's the finale. But yeah, great. That's a great question right there. And you made some great points throughout your takeaways too that I definitely would have touched on later. But thank you very much for your insight there. And yeah, now it's Richard Bailey Jr.'s turn to give his takeaways. And please do also explain why your name is Power Force Season 2 writer, when you do these takeaways also. But yeah, go ahead and take it away when you're ready.
Okay, first and foremost, I have to also say very excellent takeaways by Dana, as well as you, Gary. A lot of things that Dana said, I agree with 100%. And I also agree with some stuff that you had to say as well, Gary. So let me start by saying the reason why my name for this week's show is Power Force Season 2 writer is because I have already mentally checked out of Season 1. This episode, obviously, there were some things that were interesting about it, but I had a lot of issues with this episode. But I'm already thinking about Season 2 because I think that Season 2 and having Gary Lennon come and take over this show, it's definitely going to help the show overall, because this is somebody who actually worked on the original Power show with Courtney Kemp. So we'll see about that. But let's get into some of my thoughts with this episode. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to start with CBI, because I have said on this show multiple times, this to me was the best storyline, this whole brother versus brother thing. And I think that was the main draw of the show for me. There is, however, one issue that I had with the CBI storyline in this particular episode. Now, we do have a scene earlier in this episode where the same scene that Diamond overhears Jannard talking about what he really feels about his brother and that he wants to overtake his brother. The problem is that in this same scene, Jannard is talking about Tommy. Tommy's behind all of this. He is the one that's behind this Dahlia drug, etc., etc. The problem is that later in this episode, when we have the whole situation where D-Mac and Marshall decide to go to Cousin Buddy and cut a deal with him, at that time, they then have a scene that goes back to Jannard talking with his friend and saying, so how did they figure out this whole thing? What do they have to offer? And at that point, that's when he puts together the whole storyline. Okay, yeah, I did give money to D-Mac to investigate Tommy, and he returned the money back to me and didn't want to be involved. So Tommy is behind the Dahlia rollout. The issue I have is, from an editing standpoint, that scene should have came before the other one, where he all of a sudden knows that Tommy is behind it, because it doesn't make sense. If you go back and you watch the episode, how does he know that ahead of time? And then all of a sudden it's a surprise later in the episode when he finds out that D-Mac did this deal. Oh yeah, Tommy must be behind this. So that right there is a mistake that they definitely should have corrected, because it doesn't make any kind of sense. The other point I also want to mention about CBI is, like Dana said, I really don't care about the Adriana storyline, and I really don't care about the Sheamus storyline. However, I would say this. this is why when we were talking about this before, why I think Seamus should have been the one that brought in this reporter to spy on Diamond, because you connect these two dots together, and that would give you an explanation as to why she's getting close to him. But I will also say this: the fact that Seamus had this scene in this episode, and he went after Diamond and said, oh, he wants the money, and then Diamond tried to have a heart-to-heart conversation with him, I would not be surprised if Seamus plays a role in helping Diamond take down his brother, because it feels as though that's logically what's going to happen. Because I don't really know what Diamond's plan is to take out Gennard. Obviously, I don't think he's going to kill his brother, but I mean, I don't really know if it's going to come to that. It's like what Gary said. We have to wait and see what happens next week, because I think that's going to answer a lot of our questions as far as how he responds now that he knows this information. But overall, I still would say that the CBI storyline to me is the most interesting storyline in this entire show right now. And I think for this being Tommy's show, that's a little disappointing. But we'll move on from there. That's all I have to say about CBI. Let's talk about Tommy in this episode. Obviously, we do find out that D-Mac's real name is Darnell, because that JP has a scene with his father, and he's talking about, yes, he wants to get back into his son's life. Liliana does find out about what happened with Vic and tells Tommy. So Gary played an excellent job in his role in this episode in terms of giving her that information, because that was valuable. And of course, as Gary mentioned earlier, the whole scene about Kate and the fact that we do find out in the last episode that JP called her, but then you saw that Tommy tried to call her. Now, there was an issue with editing last week, because it wasn't clear to me that Tommy tried to call her and hung up. We even spoke about it on this show. Perhaps he convinced JP to make the call, but we didn't see that, because you saw Tommy trying to call, and then when Kate answers the phone, it's JP. So I guess we could assume now we know he hung up the phone. But yeah, I also found his reaction to JP calling her very hilarious as well as his reaction to D-Mac trying to do the side deal. I also found that hilarious. So I agree. The issue I have with Tommy's storyline this week, though, is that, once again, I cannot get over the fact that this guy will go to Merkovich and try to work with Merkovich. Now, let's recall, Tommy killed Tatiana earlier this season. Do you recall what Merkovich's response was when there was somebody talking in his group about, oh, he killed Tatiana, who nobody cares about the character? He immediately shot that person and killed him. So that tells me that now that he's all of a sudden willing to work with Tommy, I feel that is a matter of convenience. Obviously, they both now have to worry about the Irish mob. So I understand that. And for the sake of building things up for an action standpoint, I understand why they did it. I just think it was a little sloppy with how they got to this resolution, because Merkovich, obviously, this guy is a bad guy. So if I'm Tommy, I'm going to definitely work with Merkovich. But after I work with Merkovich, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to take him out immediately afterwards, because it doesn't make sense for him to be working with this guy just to form this temporary alliance. And I also agree that Merkovich, if he trusts Tommy, this character is just completely stupid, because of all the stuff that happened with Tommy. For you to just trust him, oh, because we have to work together now. Okay, that's fine. You can just pay me money and I'll forget that you killed any of my people in my organization. Doesn't make any kind of sense whatsoever. But again, if they want to hurry up and excel things and get to the action, totally fine if they want to do that. But I did have an issue with that. I just wanted to point that out. And what I also find interesting is, as it was mentioned earlier, Tommy did reach out to Diamond for help, which Tommy has been doing this entire season, asking Diamond to help him with all these various things, and Diamond turns him down. So what I predict is going to happen now, because they want to give Tommy the upper hand. This is Tommy's show. They want to give him the upper hand. I expect Diamond will now approach Tommy and ask him for help to dealing with Gennard, and Tommy will turn him down, because this is what it's going to be about. Or maybe Tommy will be in a position to work with him. I don't know, but they are pushing things in the direction of Tommy eventually working with Diamond, which is something we already knew from the very beginning, because of how both characters are and how they were interacting from episode 2 onward. So we'll see what happens. But the Merkovich thing, working with Tommy, still hard to believe, and I had some issues with that. But now let's go to my final takeaway section, which has to do with the Flynns. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is for me what I had the most issues with this entire episode. Now, let's go back to the previous episode when Polly had his conversation with Vic and told Vic, hey, you need to know that Walter set up a meet with Tommy. And all of a sudden, Vic obviously he questioned Tommy, but I was questioning why you didn't question your father and the fact that he set up this meet with Tommy. We already know from episode 1 of this season how Walter feels about Tommy, and the fact that when Tommy came to his house, he told him to get out of Chicago, get out of here. So obviously, from a logical standpoint, Tommy is not going to be the one to set up a meet with Walter. Walter is behind all of that. So I think it's kind of crazy that Vic would overlook that. And when he's having this conversation with his father, doesn't bring up the fact, oh, so you set up a meet with Tommy. That never came anywhere in the conversation. So that tells me right there that scene last week was completely unnecessary unless it's coming up in the finale or further down the road. But to me, it was ridiculous for him not to question his father about that. The other thing I will say is Walter doing this whole thing to manipulate and get Claudia and Vic involved. I totally understand that, but here's the question that I would ask the writers. Why didn't Walter bring up the fact that he has cancer to his 2 kids? Because that's another way to gain their trust and get them on your side when you also tell them, oh yeah, I'm also sick as well. I don't understand why that was never brought into any of this. Because again, he's at stage 1 right now, which means that he has an opportunity to actually get the issue resolved. But again, I just think from a writing standpoint, that should have been brought in because it makes it deeper on a family level. It's not just about, oh, because what happened to Gloria, because we already know Walter never cared about Gloria. Claudia didn't either. So the fact that he would just say, okay, we have to use his son's emotions for Claudia and have that be the only thing, I think that's an issue. It's fine. But you also bring up the health thing that we have been seeing this entire season. I think that should have also been addressed, and it hasn't been addressed. So I assume that's going to happen at a later point. We shall see. And now let's go to Claudia and her decision to all of a sudden just don't talk to Tommy. Now, I do like how they made the character question, are you sure that Tommy really set this up? They needed to do that because she obviously started to like Tommy a little bit with her working with him. So it's good that they did that. The problem is that when she just decides, okay, I'm going to cut off Tommy. You're right, Da. I'm going to work with you. You're now going to make me a part of, give me a seat at the table, as Dana alludes to. That's great and everything. But it makes no sense for her just to completely drop all affiliation with Dahlia, because we already know in the previous episode, you had Vic approaching Seamus. I need you to find out who's behind Dahlia. You have Jannard looking for who's behind Dahlia. So the fact that now she wants nothing to do with this product, that's going to come up again later because Walter also wanted to know who was behind that drug. So in the midst of her teaming up with her father, eventually it's going to come back to Dahlia, and then they're going to have questions about, so you are behind this. That makes it even more complicated dynamic, which I'm very interested to see how that plays out. But I think it's silly for her to just completely drop all of that and say, you know what? No, family is more important right now. So I'm going to work with you and forget about all of this side business that I helped start and create that Tommy can now continue without me being involved. So very interesting decision to go in all these directions. Definitely some of the issues that I had with the episode because of that. But I will say this, the Four Horsemen crew that they have built up, I agree 100% with Dana that it took them too long to get to this point. I kind of want to believe that the writers have some good ideas in mind for these characters, because you're not going to refer to them as the Four Horsemen. We all know what those characters were and how they were portrayed in various types of media. So you can't just say they're the Four Horsemen and then just be some random characters and then they get killed next week. I think that would be very poor. So hopefully that's not what happens. But I want to believe that they're going to do something with those characters next season. I want to believe that it can get better. But again, I have no idea. All I can say is that season 2, with Gary Lennon in charge, he has a lot of work cut out for him as far as what he has to fix. But I still believe season 2 can be better because they have some things in place that are interesting, but it's about the execution and how they decide to get there. But overall, yes, I thought the episode had a lot of issues. there are still some things that are interesting about the show. So I'm not prepared to say that I'm going to completely give up on what they're doing in the future. But season one, I think it's safe to say this was not a good season. Um, and hopefully season two is a hell of a lot better. But we shall see.
Oh yeah, yeah, excellent points there. I believe that Dana has a comment to make, so go ahead, Dana.
Yeah.
Counterpoint. Here's the thing why I don't mind the not telling the kids about cancer. One, it's stage one. Two, the cancer situation is not that bad right now. Yes, he's fainting and the blood and the things, but if the kids are so focused on dad having cancer, they're not going to be able to fully execute whatever it is that they're trying to execute now. Because I'm going to be so worried about my father's health that when it comes to strategically planning how I'm taking out all these people and Tommy, it's not going to work that way. And then for Claudia, remember, she's also not just, oh, she's a family member. As you saw in the last scene, did it kind of poorly, but they showed in the very last scene where she's confronting the Four Horsemen and she's like, yeah, I'm here with me, da. We got to see, the same table kind of thing. So she has a lot that's already at stake with one. She's not trusting Tommy at all because of what she saw with Merkovich. So that right there is how is she going to reconfigure Dahlia? Because remember, right now he's making everything and he's distribution.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a lot that's at stake with Dahlia. And then also on top of that, you have Liliana, who's like literally a ride or die. And the chemist, I'm not sure what's going on with her, but she's like, I'm just happy she's alive. And I think she's just happy she's alive. But there's a lot that you would have to come up with to go up against Tommy as well, because it's not just one person that's into it. So it will just be too much of a distraction for like, and I have cancer for everything all at once. And it also from a child standpoint, it would feel a little wee bit more manipulative because he's doing a lot of things that, is manipulative to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to add that on, it just makes it just over the top with the manipulation, even though he technically really does have cancer. So it's just right now, it would be a lot. And for this season, which they already put too much into, I just think that it would be something that's better in season, 2. And maybe he dies. Who knows, Walter? He dies at the end anyway. I'm all for like somebody dying eventually, please. Yeah, so that was like the two main things that I just wanted to touch upon over there. And then also, really quickly, I feel the show is good, but like I stated before, they put too much into this. If they would have really let this be like for season 1, we followed the two brothers, Tommy and brothers, and then we kind of got into Tommy's lineage. One season there, then we are introduced into the Flynns to show the larger crime family. Because if you looked at in season 1, like in the very beginning, they was laying out the different families and the different groups of the gangs. I think it would have been more digestible if we went through like season by season. Here's each of the ones, and like in season 2, we're introduced to the Flynns and what's going on.
I agree, and I think you made some very good counterpoints as well. So,
yeah. But so this whole Walt being sick thing, I think it's just like very sloppy at the moment, because I was under the impression that they already knew, because I think Vic actually had a conversation with Walt about it in a previous episode, and with Claudia, I remember
Vic knows.
Yeah, and Gloria brought it up to Claudia. I don't think Claudia actually addressed it with her father, though. But to me, it kind of feels like, if Vic knows that he's sick, maybe he doesn't know it's cancer, maybe he doesn't know what stage it's at. But if he knows that he is sick like that, and if Claudia, if she heard this thing from Gloria, I feel like they should be a lot more concerned than they are at the moment, especially going into this whole war situation. Like, I feel like that is something that should have been brought up in this episode. And at the moment, it seems like only Paulie is the only one that is kind of showing some restraint. Like he's the only one that's challenging Walt's, like, you should kind of take a step back and think about what you're doing, kind of thing. and I feel like, the children, they completely aren't concerned about his health at all.
Well,
That given that Vic knows he's sick. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the point I was going to add, you make a very good point. And the thing is that in this episode, he does say, I'm going to need you to lead. So that could have been something where maybe he had a separate conversation with him and told him, this is how bad things are. So I'm going to need you to lead. Don't tell your sister about how bad my situation is. But the fact that he makes him a leader, that should be a sign, because, obviously, if you have a health condition like that, the situation can change at any point in time. So he's not a fit to lead, all the time. So it makes sense for him to make him a leader. But yeah, I probably feel like he should have mentioned for him to know, because it didn't make any kind of sense. But maybe he does know. Maybe that happened off camera. I have no idea. But I agree that, yeah, it's a little sloppy how they handled that. But it is what it is, and we'll see what happens from here on out.
Yeah, because even when Vic brought it up to him, I believe it was in the last episode, like he found out off screen as well. So I think the fact that we don't see some of these things happen, I think that kind of, it makes it difficult to track these stories sometimes.
Mhm.
Like it's like we didn't actually see the moment where Vic found out he was sick. He just came up to his father and started talking to him about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a bit all over the place for me, but hey, it is what it is. But great points all around. We are going to get to our questions and discussion segment, so we can have more of a back and forth. But just a friendly reminder to the people: please do hit that like button if you're enjoying the discussion, and please also chime in, because I'm sure you all have many thoughts, many rebuttals about what we've been talking about. So definitely drop those comments below. And consider subscribing also if you like the content. So yeah, I have a few questions here relating to the episode, and where do I even start? So this is something that we can cover very quickly, just because I think you both kind of touched on Seamus. So what is the end game for Seamus's character, do you think? So I know Richard mentioned that Seamus, he could potentially help Diamond take down Jannard. That could be something that happens, because they did have that conversation in this episode where Seamus came to the barbershop. He told him that this cop is kind of breathing down his neck and shaking him down for money. And Diamond seemed pretty, I guess because this was after he overheard Jannard's conversation. So Diamond was very willing to give him the money. He even gave him 50K extra. So, I mean, he seems like pretty willing to help him out. So that is something that could happen. Rich might be onto something there. But Dana, do you have any idea what might be the end goal for Seamus after seeing this episode?
No, because I don't know what his goal was to begin with. I mean, he
I
kind
mean,
of started out as being the cop who was just the nuisance to make sure that Diamond and the brothers kind of stayed straight and like, what are you doing? And just randomly walking into the barbershop, which still, again, where are the customers, man? Um, but when it comes to this, we kind of find out that he is being blackmailed by the white guy whose name I cannot remember because he's forgettable too. But he's being blackmailed, and we know that his sister is very sick. But we're not shown this, we're told this. And again, this goes with I don't care because you're not showing me anything that I should be cared about. You're just telling me I need money, man. I need money. And then you have to pay me money because I have to give you, I'm going to blackmail you. Oh no. And then he runs up to Diamond. I need money. Give me some money. Here's a gun. I don't care. I don't know what his end game is. I don't know what his beginning game is. I don't know why he was there to begin with. This was a character that even if you just completely took out of the show, it does not change the show at all. I don't know. Um, but I will say, in terms of just entertaining myself, that he ends up being that someone at Diamond, I don't know, they share some kind of thingy because they had that conversation when he was robbing him for the $100,000 and got $150,000. Where he was telling him about the struggle and everything else and how they're really similar than they are different. They just happen to be on opposite aisles, even though they're both corrupt. And I maybe, in terms of this whole war situation, he will be the one who will turn, or not turn, but be used for, to help Tommy as maybe a favor to Diamond. I want him to do something of which his badge requires him to do, just to do something at all aside from opine about his sister and needing money and being blackmailed. So that's what I hope. I hope at the end he is involved with this whole thing, and maybe Diamond tells him what's going to happen. I'm really talking myself through this answer. Diamond tells him what's going to happen, and he is the guy who's like tries to arrest everyone at the end. So he gets his little badge of honor and he feels like he's a man again.
Yeah, yeah, that could definitely be something. And another thing I was thinking as well is because we know that he's had an arrangement with Vic also. Like he feeds Vic information, and Vic was paying him and stuff. So I'm thinking maybe if Diamond, comes to a conclusion next week and he's like, okay, he's going too crazy right now, and I need to do something about this. So maybe Diamond decides, okay, I'm going to help Tommy out. I'm going to be a part of his Dahlia business now. And I am going to, the same way, I went to prison, I am going to set up Janard to do a bid. And, maybe he uses Seamus to do that. And then maybe he also snatches Seamus away from Vic, and Seamus becomes his kind of, legal contact, that he pays off. And, Seamus stops working with Vic at that point. So that could be another thing that happens, maybe. But yeah, any rebuttal to that, or otherwise I'll go to Rich.
Well, do you mean him working for Vic and working for Diamond at the same time?
No, like maybe he'll basically Diamond will snatch him away from Vic, because I think if Diamond sides with Tommy, then he'll be on opposite sides of the war to Vic. So maybe he just straight up snatches Seamus away from Vic, because he did give him 50K extra for no reason. So I think you would owe him something,
That's true.
Some kind of loyalty. But Rich, what do you think about this whole Seamus thing? I know you had some thoughts earlier, but any updates? What are you thinking?
I think that you both brought up some great points. I personally think that right now Vic is focused on Tommy, so he ain't worried about Seamus. Seamus got the extra 50K as you both alluded to, so he doesn't need to go to Vic right at this moment. But I'm very curious to see what happens with the interaction the next time they do cross paths, because you got to also remember that he told that his assignment from Vic was to find out who was behind Dahlia, and he gave him extra to also find that information out. So I mean, like Dana said, I don't really give a damn about the cop. I mean, protect and serve, that's excellent. But the character, they haven't shown us much about the character. You just see him as somebody asking for money, and he will hold people up at gunpoint just to get what he wants. So I don't really care about him, and I definitely don't care about his superior officer either. I feel like that guy is going to have to get taken out at some point anyway, because he's going to continue asking for money. So you have to get rid of him one way or another. And maybe it's something that he asked Diamond to look into that, or maybe they scare him into so that he backs away from asking for the additional money from Seamus. That's a possibility, I think. But that guy is going to have to get taken away, because I don't really care about him either. But I just don't know where they're going with this. One thing I do want to make mention of, though, is that the whole thing about the reporter falling in love with Diamond, love at first sight, how grand. I don't really know about that existing in reality, but I will just say this. I think that character is definitely going to get killed. And when Gary made the comments about the barbershop getting shot up. I would not be surprised if she's in there when that happens, because again, now this puts attention back on Diamond. The whole thing about her is trying to do the story for her boss. So if she gets killed in the act of trying to do this story, that makes Diamond look bad. So that's where I think they're going with this storyline sooner or later. I mean, but again, I don't know, because they have a lot of ideas and they don't execute well on every idea. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do with any of this stuff. Go ahead.
All right, Daniel.
I would love that very much so. But you know what also popped into my head that they never came back to, and it was really frustrating to me? Remember the opening scene when Diamond was getting out of prison and those other the cellmates or I don't know, convicted people in the jail was all like, we're going to get them later. We never got that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What the fart? I would like that. That's what I thought we were getting.
So I guess the Rojas people was the only ones that they had to show for now.
So it's just the Rojas?
But no, I thought it was a lot more people that they want to go after Diamond. So I have no idea. But yeah, I agree. They need to be more threats, because they got rid of that Rojas section, those people real quick. Uh-huh. And it's funny that there was no other retaliation. The guy in the jail cell, he probably tried to contact them after they got killed. Oh, I can't reach him. He doesn't have another person that could find out what happened to him. I mean, that's
the main guy. Maybe they all just take their orders from him.
Yeah. But I'm surprised he never found out what happened. If he did, maybe it happened off camera. Who knows? I guess we think too much about these things. That's why people. Yes. That's why people are like, they think too much about these ideas.
And that's why people hate us.
Yeah.
Stop thinking. It's entertainment.
But also on top of that, like Tommy took out the whole Rojas gang or whatever and stuck them in his car, and like he now he's running to the Serbs like for help because of that.
See, wouldn't that be more for the journalists to do? Where all these dead bodies coming from?
Yep.
Why is there a whole car full of burnt bones and ashes? That's what they should have did with her, instead of just like, hey, Diamond, let's go bang. And I don't really have a point yet, but I'm going to keep talking to you.
That's right. Breakfast in bed. That's what she
Breakfast in bed. It's a remixed edition of Pepper Pot Stew.
Yeah. It's very ridiculous. And I understand they had the whole thing about she was supposed to meet Elijah and then Diamond. Oh, but Diamond is just, he swept me off my feet as soon as I saw him. It's a little ridiculous, but it is what it is.
Oh, speaking of dead people, I really did like that Tommy was desperate to find what happened to Gloria.
Oh, yeah.
Died. I like that. We're seeing a side of Tommy we don't get to see a lot, which is him actually having empathy and caring for people.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I just want to make a comment. Joseph Sikora acting very good. The scene where he talks with Claudia and she tells him that that Gloria didn't make it. He's like, the expression he had, like he wanted to cry, like, who told you I was behind this? Who told you I was behind this? I'm not an actor, so I can't do it 100% like him, but I was convinced. Yeah, that was some good acting. So he does care about what happened to her, but unfortunately it don't matter now because he got a target on his back.
He got a target, but he had multiple targets. See, and again, and I'm sorry to lament this, but he had multiple targets on his back before through this whole episode with the Flynns and with everyone else just in general. This threat that's happening now does not feel like it's a big threat to me. Even though you called all your horsemen people and all of Dublin, I don't feel nothing for this threat.
I agree.
I feel in some random Superman way, Tommy is going to just, avoid all of this and everyone else is going to get all shot up.
I agree. And one last point I want to make, and then Gary, because I don't want to go too much off your question. But just to respond to that, I'm pretty sure now you may see 2-Bit return. And I don't know why Tommy wouldn't call 2-Bit. You can trust 2-Bit, so why don't you ask him to help you in this situation? But again, maybe that's too much. Maybe that's too much for the writers to think about.
That makes sense because they teased him in the IMDb like way before the show even aired.
Exactly.
Sorry, we are derailing Gary's show. Sorry.
No, it's fine. This is what the people love. They want to hear us conversate, so it's cool. But yeah, that does make total sense. I could totally see You know, Tommy, you know, maybe he's down on his luck and he's feeling the heat from the Four Horsemen, and he's like, damn, who can I call to back me up? Like who, you know, and his memory will think back to New York and the people who held him down then, and Two Bit was the main guy, you know, so
Bring back Bubbles.
he's dead. But yeah, Bubbles was cool.
You know who I meant? Kendrick Lamar.
Oh yeah, okay.
I compare him to Bubbles.
Yeah. Yeah, was Bubbles the other guy? Remember, it was always Two Bit, and the other guy was that Bubbles, or was that someone else?
No, that was someone else.
The dude that Tommy shot in the eye. Like, what was his name?
I can't remember his name right now. I'll remember it by the time we're done.
He was the funny one.
Yeah,
he was shorter.
Yeah, he was cool.
If I tell you, I have to kill you.
He was the comedy relief. But yeah, that it definitely makes sense for Two Bit to return now. So I hope that we do see that next week. But yeah, great points all around. So I'll keep it moving. We've kind of touched a lot of this subject matter already, but I guess I'll move on. So of course, Gloria, you know, after seeing Tommy talk to the Serbs, you know, we see that, you know, she kind of goes back to her family and kind of pledges her loyalty. Like she goes to Walt and she says basically, you know, I believe you, like I believe everything you say. Like Tommy really is behind this now. And you know, Rich brought up the fact that she is currently in business with Tommy, with the Dahlia business and everything. So it wouldn't make sense for her to just, you know, switch up like that. But do you think she's at the back of her mind, maybe she's planning to take out Tommy because then she'll have full access to the business? Like if Tommy's gone, she takes over essentially. I mean, Liliana's there and I don't think she'll let that happen so easily, but I guess she could, like, you know, Claudia could like get the cook, you know, she could get get Lauren, the person who, you know, the other cook basically. I mean, JP knows how to cook now, and I'm sure he would be loyal to Tommy, but you know, Claudia could get the other cook, you know, and she could take control of Dahlia that way. So do you think that this is part of her agenda in trying to go against Tommy now? What do you think, Rich?
I think what you just said, and again, if they don't take advantage of this, then it shows that they aren't really thinking logically about how they lay out these episodes. She knows where Tommy is at. She knows what he's working on. The facility that he's at, Liliana is at, the cook, and JP. So with all this information, what is going to stop her from telling Walter, this is where Tommy goes? We need to go and hit him here. That's what I expect to see in the next episode, because you know where he's at, what the base of operations, all this information. So if she truly wants to take out Tommy, this is what has to happen in the next episode. And it can't be any excuse about, well, we need to try to wait and find out how we're going to find Tommy. She knows everything about Tommy in terms of what he's operating, what he's working on. So it shouldn't be any issues getting to him in the next episode. But I want to see how they're going to delay that particular thing from happening, because there really is no excuse. I think they've written themselves into a corner, and she knows this information and intel. So it's kind of dumb if she doesn't say anything in the next episode.
Yeah, definitely. Because she should know Tommy's patterns completely. Like she should know his whole schedule, his timetable, everything. So I mean, she could just tell, you know, Walt and Vic, this is where he's going to be at, you know. And just as I was like, you know, just as we were talking about that, I was thinking, you know, because now JP knows how to cook, I could totally see, you know, in the next season, there's two different factions of Dahlia warring against each other, like, because there is two cooks now. So she could take Lauren, JP will be with Tommy, and they could, like, the Flynn family will be one faction, and then the Tommy faction, the Egan family. You know?
Well, hold on. Are you suggesting that the scientist is going to survive into season 2, Gary? Do you think she's going to make it to season 2?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, because I don't want to see her die. Like, you know, she's a smart black woman. I hope she survives. And,
I agree. I don't want to see the character die either, but because what we do know is that when she gets killed, and then that's going to raise questions about what happened to her, because they already teased that with the boss when they called me. The boss's name is Richard, right? So they called me to confirm. So if something happened to her, I'm definitely going to raise suspicion. That's a very good point. I kind of feel though, if they go into that facility in the next episode, somebody gonna have to get taken out. I feel, but I that's why I'm curious to see. And obviously, we didn't see the trailer for the next episode. For those that are wondering, we do get this screener early, so we don't know what's going to happen next week yet. But we will see when we see that trailer after this episode airs.
Mm-hmm. Today is Friday for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So go ahead, Dana. You got any thoughts on
yeah,
that?
Here's the thing, what I was thinking, which is a wishful hope that could actually be true. One of the kids could actually be playing us, and we'll flip. Because remember, Claudia was a thinker, right? She was the one who was like, things are not making sense. And she was the one who was the holdout of the family. And it wasn't until she saw Tommy with Merkovich that she was like, oh, it's all true. But that still doesn't fully mesh well with everything that happened. So I do feel that maybe, hopeful thinking again, one of the kids are playing us. I don't know if it's Claudia or if it's Vic. But it could be Victor, because also, again, even though he was the one who got shot up and his lady's dead, he knows his father couldn't stand her. He knows that Tommy was trying to help her and everything else. It wasn't until, she ran in and was like, duh, I really did see Merkovich with Tommy, that he really started to say, well, I guess she may be right. They did this huge long speech at the end, like, I stand with you. You're part of my family. That whole thing. But again, I'm hoping that that's all a swerve, and that that's not fully true with everything. And so maybe we'll get an extra showdown of that. But I forgot what the original question was.
No, it was like whether you think Claudia is like planning to take over the Dahlia business, and that's why she wants to kill Tommy and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's wanting to kill Tommy, that, and she honestly thinks that, she may not honestly, but somebody, I don't know, because again, I do feel like there's a swerve I'm hoping for. But if there is no swerve, I do think that it would probably be in her best interest if she keeps Dahlia still running. I don't know if this means that she'll finally convince her father that, Dahlia is something that's more lucrative than the coke. But in terms of her going after Tommy, that already just seems to definitely be a given. So it's a win-win for her on both ways. She gets to kill Tommy just in general for what she believes may have happened with the whole family and trying to set up Victor, and the whole thing with Gloria, even though she didn't like Gloria. I don't think anybody even cares about Gloria at this point, but she cares that her brother was almost murdered by them, that she believed that he set them up. So if that's the case, it's a win-win. Tommy's dead, so then I basically have the patent to Dahlia, and I can just scoop up your team. The only thing is we're going to end up with a showdown between Liliana and JP, and I wonder how that's going to go down. Tommy, if we already know he ain't going to die. He's going to be fine. I just don't see it. Yes.
Now, after hearing you say that, I unfortunately am preparing for Liliana to possibly get killed in the finale, because I can see a situation where Claudia and them roll up to that facility, Tommy isn't there, and they decided to send a message by killing her, and then now that will start this whole thing of Tommy having to really go after them harder.
I see JP dying because the innocent. Remember, we already had Gloria, and even Tommy stated she wasn't in this, man. She's an innocent. What's going on?
Yeah.
So you had that, but JP would also be the most logical.
I agree.
Well.
I agree, and you make a good point, because we know that Liliana is the only one that knows the secret that that's Tommy's brother. We never saw Claudia actually see JP. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that would be a a very interesting twist if he is killed, and then it makes the fact that he didn't really get a chance to spend any time with his son even more dramatic, because his son is still in the hospital.
Yeah, I'm cool with him dying too.
Dana wants everyone dead.
I just want everyone dead. Give me at least 5 bodies. I'm good.
Yeah. I do think we need some blood. Like the streets need a body, so next week, I think someone's gotta go to make this interesting. But yeah, great points all around. I definitely want the people to chime in on that and let us know what they think about, Claudia and the Flynns and the Egan family. Like, what do you see happening there? So, speaking of DMAC, since you brought him up, so I'm guessing we're all in agreement that we think he's going to survive then, or well, Dana,
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so you think he's going to?
Oh my God. Okay, random. He dies. JP, we already know, is like he's angry and like, right? And so he thinks he has a little backbone now because he's like, I've been cooking up some drugs, some Dahlia. I want to be a part of this life. Automatically signs up to be a part of the army, and he's killed. Or he goes on his lonesome and thinks he's going to go after CBI, or I don't think he knows that CBI is part of this whole thing. But he's going to be on, I think he's going to just probably do like a Lone Ranger situation. And then that's how he dies.
Okay, so you think both of them are going out? Okay, interesting.
I mean, I'm just like, I need 5 bodies. So
5 bodies. Wow. So Rich, what do you think?
Well, I think that I personally think that Darnell, aka DMAC, and both names are horrible, by the way. I believe that character will survive the gunshot wound. I do believe that JP will be very angry, though, and will want answers as to who came after his son. And I do believe that I can see him going after or doing what he can. And Tommy, obviously, and it'll be very easy to convince Tommy, hey, you want to get back on my good side again? We need to work together and go after whoever it is that shot my son. So that's going to happen because it makes JP get more involved in this. Besides the cooking, the character obviously is very angry. You saw he was about ready to take someone's head off with a bat earlier this season. So I would be curious to see him what he actually does when something like this happens to someone he cares about. Is he going to get violent with somebody? I want to see that. So I think that's what's going to happen starting with the next episode. It might really be in season 2, but I expect that to happen 100%.
See, Richard makes sense because we get that thing. And then also this show sometimes is a lot of over it talk too much. And it likes to overshadow. I'm pretty sure I'm using a wrong word. Y'all went to school and everything, but it's alluding too much to certain things that's going to happen in the future. So remember the whole conversation that Tommy had with DMAC, and he was like, you're too smart for this. I don't want this life for you. That whole, kind of a parental conversation. Do I call you Uncle Tom now? It really felt like, because now that they have that connection and he did that whole monologue of you're too smart for this. This is not the life for you. People, and remember he said people die. Remember he told him the story about Ghost, not Ghost, but he told him go shish. I knew a guy who was just as smart as you. He did. That's the life that we always end up with. You end up dead. So I think that it was foreshadowing. I said overshadow. It was foreshadowing DMAC's death.
Yeah, it could be. I do think like they spent so much time building this thing up this season that I feel like it's almost a waste. It feels like a waste if it's like over next week. Like, so I see them dragging the whole story out a bit more before someone dies. Like I totally agree that, either one of them, JP or DMAC, they're at risk of dying completely, especially if they're involved in the business. But I just don't know if it's coming in the finale. But go ahead, Rich.
To go to Dana's point that somebody has to die, let's also remember that DMAC made up with Marshall in this episode. and the hit is on both Marshall and D-Mac. So if Marshall gets killed, yeah, that's possible. I mean, I don't really care about the character really, but it is a friend of D-Mac, so that would also elevate this as well if they don't flat out kill D-Mac or JP yet. But we'll see.
Oh yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Like that seems like a disposable character. Go ahead.
No, Marshall, yes, he can die. Yeah, he die. But he could be a part of the army thing.
Yeah.
Because he can't go back to CBI.
Oh no, him and D-Mac have beef with CBI now.
Yeah.
Oh no, and I was going to say, and I find it very, very, very ridiculous that now they want to prioritize taking out the kids before Tommy. So
because they're easy pickings. That's like, killing the cub instead of the big strong father who's standing right there.
Oh yeah, but in doing that, they have to know that will also draw Tommy out. If Tommy is working with them, that's to get his attention. So he is coming after them. That's why they just go after everybody. But they said, no, we need to get rid of them first, and then we'll worry about Tommy. But Tommy's going to be coming after him now in the next episode, I would think.
I do wonder if we'll have a hospital scene that's kind of like BMF where they try to kill D-Money in the hospital.
Hey, we'll see. You mean Razor Kanan? Where they tried to kill
No, remember both. Well, Dad, remember in BMF when they tried
you're right.
Tried to kill one brother?
Yeah, I remember that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would be cool. And I just watched like Top Boy recently, and that had a fun hospital scene as well, like one of the earliest seasons of Top Boy. So I'm all for beefing at the hospital. Like it's very intense to watch that. But yeah, great points all around. So I have like one small question. There is another question I want to ask, but like I just want to clear something up quickly. So we know that they like the Flynns believe that Tommy told the Serbs where Vic and Gloria were going to be, and set them up to be shot at, right? But was it actually somebody else? Did somebody else feed them the information that Vic was going to be at that place? Go ahead, Rich.
My personal opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think Walter did set that up. Because you see how excited he was to finally have his kids under his control. And he was the one that told them, oh yeah, Tommy set this up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's Walter, actually.
Yeah, and if you notice, when Claudia comes in and she says she saw Tommy talking to Merkovich, Walt has like a surprised, like a shocked kind of look, like when she says that.
Exactly.
So that is interesting if Walt is actually the one that fed the information to them. What do you think, Dana? Go ahead.
Muted. Sorry, I was muted. Paulie had to do something.
You think it was Paulie?
It was Paulie and his drug addicted son that no one talks about again because we just have storylines that we just drop.
Yeah, I'm wondering what Paulie's going to do because there was a lot of build up with him in this season. So it's
Paulie is loyal. Oh goodness, I wish we would do something with Paulie.
I just want to say I do agree there are too many storylines. They even had the storyline where the cops were going to try to get information out of Paulie. Those cops weren't even in this episode either. So you see, it's too many things happening on the show at the same time.
It's too much. I'm very, and then you forget things, and then they forget things. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say why I think they really did this, but I think I know why they really did this. They was trying to get that white audience.
I think all of these stories could have been excellent if they paced it out the right way. Like, not all of this needed to be season one, like Dana said earlier. Like, some of this should have been, just spaced out a bit more, and then that would give them more time to really build the characters and make us actually care about them. Like,
I think if they were going to kill Gloria, that could have happened at the very end of the season. And then you have this whole thing where, okay, now they want to go after Tommy, and that goes into season 2. Maybe that would have worked out better. But I guess they wanted to throw as much as they can at the viewer so that something would stick and that they can get people watching so that they would have come back for a second season.
And her goal was to be a chef, and we never really got to see her doing her passion, which was cooking. I don't know any backstory about Gloria.
Oh no, she did cook. She cooked in the first episode with Tommy and gave him a meal.
Yeah, she was feeding him all right. He was fed.
Yeah, I agree. They could have done a lot more with that character. They could do a lot more with a lot of characters. I just don't know what they wasn't really. I don't really think they thought some of these things through. They just said this is an attractive person. This would be great to give Tommy a little bit of some, because he hasn't had, someone in a while. So that's what they decided. Just put her in the storyline. Oh, and let's make her also the girlfriend of the guy that Tommy has an issue with. That's a great idea, right? Yeah, but the execution was not.
It's like they watched too much Godfather and then thought right away they're going to write everything of the Godfather and put it in one season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, I do think it was like too many ideas and they just mushed it all together, kind of like. But so yeah, last question. So what do you think Diamond is actually gonna do now that he overheard his brother talking about him and his plans and everything? What is his next move gonna be in the finale? And of course this answer is without us seeing the trailer, so keep that in mind, But yeah, what do you think he's going to do now that he overheard all that? Because of course, Jannard, he talked about a lot of things. He talked about, the buddy thing that's going on in Indiana. He talked about wanting to get rid of Tommy, and he talked about wanting to take over CBI from Diamond. So he mentioned all of that, and he also said F Diamond, F Tommy, all that. So, what do you think Diamond is going to do now that he's had some time to process this? So I'll go to you first, Dana. What do you think?
You went to me first. How dare you?
If you need more time,
No, because my answer is going to still be the same. I don't know. In terms of how this story seems to be playing out, I don't know. But what I wish would be this. After the literal monologue of literally everything, all I was waiting for was, and I set him up to go to jail the first time. That's all I was waiting for. I think that Diamond is a thinker, as we learned before. It is Jannard who is the hot-headed one who reacts boom right away. Jannard is I don't think that Diamond is going to react right away. I think he's going to sit on this. Whether or not we see this in the finale, I do not want to see this in a finale. I want this to be season 2. He is going to probably use what he has at his disposal, which is the reporter. Hey, do you run a real story? And probably feed in information about his brother to the reporter to do with that. Also, he knows the whole situation about Dahlia. He's the one who, also has information about Dahlia and who's running Dahlia. Remember, Jannard just now found out that it was Tommy was behind Dahlia. Jannard is still technically connected to Tommy, even though he's like, I don't want to help you at this moment. We still friends, though. So he could figure out and set up a way where, Tommy already knows about Jannard. I really feel that this is all innate. So just him talking to him about it would just be redundant at this point. But I really wonder how they're going to be able to use this to set up Jannard. On top of that, he has the cop as well, the Seamus. So Seamus, the reporter, and you kind of have Tommy, who has all of the inside information of everything else. Tommy also knows D Money Mac, if he is alive or dead at this point. We know about the connection with the guy who's like the dude with the eye, whose name I can't remember. So because of that, I feel he can use this information as a way to set up Jannard and put him in jail. I don't see this being a killing situation. I hope it's not a killing situation because that's just too easy. What? I heard you talk about me. Boom, boom. And then that's over. I want this to be strategic, and I want this to be him going to jail. And with the amount of information that he knows and with Dahlia on the street, I feel that he won't get the 10 years, but he'll probably end up getting life behind this. So that's what I hopes happen. And then you have to wonder what happens to the CBI. Do the CBI completely disband at this point? Or does Diamond is like the sole leader back with this? And then also, what's going on with Jannard's friend, whose name I can't remember, that he also was having a conversation with downstairs in the basement? What's going to happen with that situation? Is he going to get killed off, or does he go to jail too as an accomplice because he knows everything and he's part of the CBI? And I don't really see Diamond being like, I'm leader of the CBI, because he gave that whole monologue speech again about, I'm done with this, I want to go to jail. So that way it would technically end up wrapping his story nicely. He leads a straight, clean, and narrow life, and his brother is in jail, and then that's it, and we can move on to something else.
Yeah, great thoughts, great ideas there. And just, quickly, my thinking is, I don't think, I think this is going to carry on into season 2, this beef between them. And what I could possibly see happening is CBI splitting into 2 sides. So like Diamond's branch and Jannard's branch. And I think what could happen then, because I really think they're setting up like the Egan family versus the Flynn family. And I feel like maybe Diamond's branch of CBI is going to integrate with the Egans, and Jannard's branch is going to integrate with the Flynns, possibly, or work alongside them or in some capacity. Because remember, if Dahlia splits, if there's 2 Dahlia like factions, everybody's going to want a piece of Dahlia. So it would make sense for them to get with the people who are, who have control of Dahlia. And if there's 2 cooks, that means Claudia will have her cook and JP will be the other cook. And yeah, so it's like you're going to want to side with one of those sides to kind of have access to the drug. So I think that there's going to be some sort of split, between CBI, and they're going to be at odds. Like Diamond and Jannard are going to be at odds with each other for some time to come. But yeah, it's a possibility. But what do you think, Rich? What do you think is going to happen with Diamond?
Well, I think that I hate to tell you this, Gary, but I think Diamond is going to continue to be very passive as far as the next episode, because he has to think about a way to get back at his brother. Now, all the stuff that you and Dana mentioned could definitely happen. He can start to talk to the reporter about this. He can work with Seamus to try and focus on taking him down. But what I feel is, though, because of how this episode ended, this next episode is going to be about retaliation, because we know that Jannard sent that hit out on, basically D-Mac and Marshall. So in the next episode, I can see them coming right back to, they both know where the barbershop is at, coming right back to that barbershop and trashing the place. Because we know that those characters, based on the fact that they messed up JP's club multiple times, they know how to do that. If D-Mac gets out of, he survives and gets out of the hospital, whatever. But Marshall definitely can go and do some damages if he wants to as well, if the hit is unsuccessful. But I think it's a situation whereas, because like Dana said earlier in the show, I wasn't expecting Diamond to find out about what Jannard was doing this way. I expected it to be because of something Jannard did behind his back, like deciding to work with Cousin Buddy or deciding to get these kids involved. I thought that was going to lead to him finding out, okay, my brother is doing something else, even though I told him not to do this. That's how I figured he was going to learn this. But because he learned it this way, it makes a lot of possibilities now as to what he can do next. That's why it's hard to answer the question. But I do think that for the most part, the next episode is going to be about retaliation for D-Mac getting shot. And I see that barbershop might get damaged. It's going to be some type of confrontation. And at that point, I don't know what's going to happen right then and there. But all I'm going to say is I think season 2 is, you're going to see a lot more payoff season 2. I have no idea how they're going to end this season. If it's a major death, though, if it, from a viewer standpoint, I don't want this to happen, But if it's a major death that happens that's meaningful, I feel like it has to be Liliana, because that character and her bond with Tommy, and the fact that they always have these scenes where, oh, like, do you want to say something nice to me? Like, and Tommy is always hesitant to say, oh no, don't think about this too much. You know, you're a good partner and all this other stuff, but he tries to keep it professional all the time. So I kind of feel like, from a viewer standpoint, something has to happen to that character to really change Tommy. And while it could be JP or it could be DMAC, I think it's going to be more impactful if it's her. So I think that's probably what's going to end up happening next week. She gets killed, and it sets a chain of motion into season 2 with Tommy trying to get revenge because they took her out to some extent like that. But that's just my guess.
Oh yeah, excellent ideas from both. And I do like, you know, what Dana was saying about the reporter as well, of utilizing that. But yeah, you both made some interesting predictions there.
Dana's gonna say something else.
Go ahead, Dana.
Here's my one issue with your prediction, Gary. Does anyone in power look like they're willing to share anything? So I just don't see how they're going to have Dahlia broken up into 2 factions.
Yeah.
And that's just the thing I just don't get. You have Claudia. Obviously, it's her patent, but she doesn't know how to cook it. So she's completely out of luck in terms of that. But then you have Tommy, who has people who do know how to cook it, and he's already just distributing it, which I think he is doing. And he has all of the money behind all of it as well. So I just don't really see how it's going to be like, here's a split.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be all fine and dandy. There's going to be a war, of course. Like, people, like,
but even if you war over it, if Claudia ends up winning, she still ends up with nothing unless she has to go back and get another cook to figure out the patent. Because I'm pretty sure that the first cook is like, I'm sick of this. Walks off and gets shot. And she's like, I'm cool.
And I want to also add something to piggyback off of what Dana said. I agree with what she said. Also, when the part you said, Gary, about it potentially Jannard working with the Flynn's, we know Walter does not like these black guys. So that's not going to, I definitely don't think that's happening.
He's on his.
Well, say what you say? He said that he's going to make an exception this one
time.
He
made an exception already, and he was like, "I'm done with this. I can't do it no more. Please stop surrounding me about all these black people. I don't like the black people."
Yeah,
so I just don't see it.
Yeah, he's half dead. He doesn't have a choice. And
he's in stage 1 of stage 4 or 5. He has stages to go through. He's okay. And then you saw with Gloria. Oh my God, he might flip out another one again. Imagine the cook coming to go cook at his house. He would flip out. Another black girl. Oh,
they're not doing that at the house. They're definitely not doing that at the house. They don't want the attention, you know, from the police. So, but yeah.
The police. What happened to the police who was trying to arrest him the whole time? Remember the whole FBI thing, and they kept bombarding him with the paperwork? Oh, this looks illegal. Remember, you had that business. There was that business that I can't remember that he had, but that business,
the dialysis,
dialysis business. Oh, where's your paperwork? And my daughter.
And those are the same people that was trying to get information from Polly. So where the hell are they at this whole time? They said, "Oh, well, we don't need you for this episode, so you can come back at a later time."
Unless that's how they end up setting up Jannard by using the FBI.
Yeah. Well,
I just want people to serve a purpose at the end of the day.
I just want to say this last point, then Gary can go. What you said about them about Diamond talking to the reporter, I think that is spot on, because Jannard wants to be looked upon as the head of CBI. And obviously, they want to profile somebody that is in charge of this organization. So it 100% makes sense why he would tell her about his brother to put that spotlight on him, but also expose some of the bad stuff he's doing as well. So I'm curious to see how they handle that now. But I still don't like the character, and I don't like Seamus. So we'll see.
Oh yeah. Did you have anything else to add, Dana, before I move on from the subject? No? Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was muted. No, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So definitely chime in the comments, everyone. You know, let us know what you think of the whole Diamond CBI situation as well. But yeah, that is pretty much all the questions I had. We covered a lot of different topics. Of course, there are a lot of different stories to analyze here. And I think we did a great job. But if you do have anything else final to say about this episode or your expectations for the finale next week, then this is the time to do so. So, Richard, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I expect to be disappointed in the finale next week. I think they have a great deal of things that you can look forward to, but it's hard to trust because they had a few episodes this season that were actually really good. They were actually pretty decent, so I kind of feel like something major has to happen in the finale, but I don't know if they are going to actually do that or if they're going to delay, because I think they've written themselves into a corner. So something major has to happen in this next episode to make somebody want to watch season 2. But I don't know if they can pull that off. So for now, I'm going to say I will be cautiously optimistic. Again, I'm still a fan of Power. I will continue to watch the shows, but if there's an issue with the show, I have to say some stuff. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And so me personally, like I just given all of these different plot threads, I don't think they can tie them all up next week. But I do think they can give us enough. They can tie up the main plot points that we've been seeing, the CBI, the Dahlia, the Flynn family, that stuff. They can tie that up and then also leave us with enough to the point that we're anticipating the next season too. They do have their work cut out for them, I think, based on how the season has gone. But yeah, I think there is hope that this could be a pretty good finale, and I feel like they've been kind of rushing to build up to some particular moment. So I feel like we're gonna get some kind of big moment in this finale that is going to make all of this worth it or make all of it mean something. So yeah, that is my thought going into the finale. But Dana, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts is I'm not negative on this show. I really do like this show, which is why we kind of get frustrated. If we don't like a show, then we'll just not watch it and go on with our lives. So I genuinely do like this show and I want this show to start doing better. But overall it has not met my expectations of what I thought, and you can also say, hey, that's your own fault because you're expecting something they never promised. But overall, with this season finale, I just want it to mean something. I have no idea which direction it's going to go into. And you can argue that's even a good thing. We don't know what's going to happen. But in terms of this, it's been so all over the place. That's why I don't know what's going to happen. But I do hope that what we have seen in the first season, we at least get some kind of conclusion to something, and that it was all meant for something. Again, as I stated, they have too many cooks in the kitchen with way too many characters that could have easily been spread out in the first season. And if you wasn't so concerned about reaching just a certain demographic that you wasn't able to reach in the beginning of your Power universe, and now that you're losing, I feel, what was the reason why people originally tuned into Power. And you can argue that the first Power universe was a bit convoluted and things didn't make sense here, but it feels like it's extra because you're trying to throw in so much to meet so many categories to check off so many boxes. So at the end of the day, I just want there to be a conclusion to something. I want there to be some kind of payoff for fans because even though it's been 10 weeks, or it'll be 11 when the finale airs, um I just want it to mean something because 11 weeks is a lot to people just in general. You could say it was only 1 hour a week, but still it's a lot to people. So again, I just hope that there is something that happens and that it's good. That's all. I just want it to be good. And this episode, again, I like this episode. Even though I was like, oh, I don't like this part. I like this episode. So I want to see how we're going to incorporate everything that we've seen before. And I know that 2-Bit was already teased on IMDb, which is not a god of anything, but was teased on IMDb. So I would like to see that. let me know what's going to happen. I'm excited.
Yeah, I do hope we see 2-bit. And like the thing is with this show as well, because I agree with your sentiments, but I think like this show it had too much that we could compare it to, because it came right after book 2, which was amazing. Like that season was fantastic, the second season. And it's up against Snowfall, which is like one of the top like drug shows also. And you have other shows like Euphoria and Bel Air, like all these other shows with, like I feel like it had to be amazing to kind of stand up to all of those other shows that it's kind of slotted around. If it came later in the year, maybe it would have interested people a bit more, but like I feel like we're currently seeing so many great shows that it's like, yeah, this the flaws of this show just stand out that much more, I think. But I do hope, with the new showrunner next season, this is it's gonna pick up, and it's gonna be one of those shows, because I mean, look at book 2 Ghost. I do feel like book 2 Ghost season 1 was better than this season still, like, of Force, but it got better. It got better in season 2. Like, it shot up to another level. So I think that could be the case for Force also. I think they'll get to where they want to be next season. So, but yeah, I'm just hopeful that they leave us with something very meaningful next week in the finale that is going to have us, eagerly awaiting that second season. But yeah, any other final thoughts on that? Are we good? Okay. So yeah, I guess we'll do a round of shout outs quickly, and then that's it. So, I just want to give a big shout out to all the listeners, all the people, who continue to comment. I can't wait to see all the names leaving comments again, because it has been, like 2 weeks now, essentially, since the last episode. So I can't wait to see the community come back and, check in with us and leave their thoughts and theories and everything, so thank you for all your continued support. We hope that, you've enjoyed this long ride with us. And, next week, after next week, it will be, according to 50 Cent, it will be 6 months before we get the next power. But yeah, but this has been great. This run of power that we've been doing, this has been great. And I love every week just seeing what everyone thinks of the episode. So yeah, shouts to the community, man. Shouts to the people who continue to support us. And Dana, you got any shout outs?
Again, thank you for listening to us rant and rave about the show for several weeks now. So thank you for that. Thank you just in general for your continued support. And we do have other shows you could check out on the YouTubers that we have. We cover other shows. And we have other interviews that are upcoming as well, including Sonic. So check that out. We have Sonic, we have iCarly, we have a whole bunch of other things. We have We Own the Night, which will be coming up very soon. That is kind of similar to the original show that I can't remember right now because I just went completely blank. Yeah.
The Wire.
The Wire. Thank you. So we have other things that's in the pots that's cooking and steaming and stewing. So you hopefully pay attention to that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Great stuff. Got a lot of content. Big shouts to you, Dana, because you've been putting in work on the channel. So yeah, that's awesome stuff. But how about you, Richard? Any shout outs?
Oh yeah. Always a pleasure recording the show with you both. So shout out to the both of you. Shout out to everybody that's been commenting on the YouTube channel for the various types of things we've been covering. We appreciate your continued support as well as your comments. And also everybody listening on Spotify or iTunes or pretty much any of the audio platforms. We definitely appreciate your feedback. Feel free to consider leaving a review. Let us know your thoughts on the show. And we look forward to covering the finale next week.
And
Oh, yeah.
also, if you have any other shows that pique your interest,
Mhm.
you can leave a comment. Let us know what type of shows you like, because we're all different. We can't predict everything. So let us know.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, because there's a lot of other shows coming up after Power, so definitely let us know what you're looking forward to as well. Um, so yeah, that is going to be it for this week. Of course, we will be back next week to cover the finale of Power Book 4 Force. This has been a great episode. Can't wait to see what the people think. But until next week, take care of yourselves, people, and we'll see you then. We'll see you on the other side. So, peace out.